I'm going to just go ahead and say this. I think there's an opportunity here, Andy, for Gerard Mayo, who you just heard right there talking about the good practice that they had this week. If you were listening to Jones and Keefe, you heard not only Mike Onwenu say that he's had a bunch of offensive coordinators, but that Alex Van Pelt has been his favorite. And also Alex Van Pelt saying, I don't need any help. We don't need any help with Drake Maye. Thanks very much. We got this, everybody. I think there's something happening here in this locker room, and I don't know exactly what it's going to lead to. I don't know if it's going to be everybody galvanizing around the coaching staff. I don't know if it's going to be one of those, rah-rah type of things. This is supposed to be a year that establishes culture. We did talk about that all throughout camp and discussing Gerard Mayo's various strengths and weaknesses. We all thought that was going to be one of the things that he was really going to emphasize, and I believe that all this stuff that happened this week, from the win over the Bears, to the leak story about the Crafts looking for help with Drake Maye and really everything else, I think that that's permeated the locker room now to the point where they're starting to establish something here. They're starting to create their identity, Andy, I think. It's taken a while. I mean, we're at week 11, but I think it's starting to come into focus a little bit. Now, I don't know if that means they're going to beat the Rams this weekend. They probably won't. But I do think you're starting to see, and on the field too, but I think in general here, you're starting to see some of that culture that we were promised when Gerard Mayo took over this job, because we knew it wasn't going to be about his scheme. We knew it wasn't necessarily going to be about X's and O's with this guy. I think that all of this stuff happening this week and the way these guys are talking and the way they're sort of reacting to all these different things, starting all the way back from Mayo calling the team soft a month ago or whatever it was, 3 weeks ago, I believe that that's now starting to become something. And I'm kind of excited for it. I'm kind of excited to see where it goes, because we know this team's not very talented. If they're going to win games, they're going to win them on sheer force of will or the other team crapping out or whatever it is. But I'm starting to see it. Are you starting to see it?
So on the Friday after they beat the Bears, I can see it. I hope I can still see it around 4:15 on Sunday when I start the Six Rings post-game show after this Rams game, because this is certainly what they're trying to do. And it's funny because I was just scrolling through Twitter, and apparently Diana Rossini on some podcast of hers said the NFL is trending toward head coaches that owners believe are culture setters more so than play callers. And certainly Gerard Mayo is in that world because he doesn't call plays on either side of the ball, has never called plays on either side of the ball. So you brought him as a culture setter like a Dan Campbell in Detroit. Totally different personality, but certainly culture setting is part of their thing. And Gerard has talked a lot about this. They've talked a lot about this. I just think it's a good week to be talking about it and it to sound believable, but to maybe mix my metaphors or take a cliche from another topic we'll be talking about and maybe be lamenting around midnight tonight. Everybody's got a culture until they get kicked in the you-know-what or punched in the mouth, right? Like culture is only something you promote and brag about when you're playing well and when you're winning and when there's some sort of positive momentum moving forward. If you go out there and you get blown out by the Rams, I'm not sure we're going to be having a lot of conversations about, oh, yeah, the culture is really trending in a right direction, because nobody brags about culture when you're losing. Nobody brags about culture when you're getting embarrassed or turning the ball over or allowing big plays or, I don't know, playing soft by not running the ball and allowing the ball to be run down your throat. So, this Friday afternoon on a Patriots Friday, Optimistic Andy will join you in this culture-setting tone in New England. Sunday or Monday, we may have a different
We may be singing a different tune, and I know you think the Patriots are getting blown out this week, and we'll get to our picks and everything later on in the show. And listen, people are already saying, oh, Arcand, you're flip-flopping. Where was this 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, Mayo was calling the team soft. 3 weeks ago, this whole thing was getting established. So you do have to give it some time. It's not just a snap judgment you can make on a week-to-week basis. I do think, though, that it's the combination of all those things. It's beating Chicago. It's beating another rookie quarterback. It's beating a more talented team than you. I mean, that's a fact, I think. Maybe even on both sides of the ball. Like, in terms of overall talent, the Bears got you clipped pretty much everywhere. And that was not only a good game by the defense, but it also sort of showed them things look bad here in New England, right? Like, you're not having a good season. You've lost some pretty ugly games. But there's teams out there in worse shape than you, and they've got more talent than you, and you're able to go out there and beat them on their home field. Like that was substantial. I think that meant something to that locker room, as it showed them that, hey, you're not the bottom of the barrel anymore. You're not the dredge of the league. You're still down there with the rest of us at 3 wins, but you're not down at the bottom number 1 pick in this bad NFL season anymore. And I think that there's something to that. I think you can build off of that type of thinking. And I think that Gerard Mayo, if this is what he's going to be talking about with his culture setting and all of that, the sense of urgency, which we heard about this week and everything else, this has all the elements of it. And again, you might be right. They might get their ass kicked this weekend. We'll forget all about it. But if they lose a close game, or if they win the game, like there's things you can appreciate about this season that we've talked about since camp. And I do think that that's starting to come into form here.
Do you believe Gerard Mayo is setting the culture?
Yes.
Because I think you could make a strong argument that he has been trying to set the culture all year long. And the culture took off about 5 or 6 games ago when Drake Maye joined the culture. And at the very least started pulling in the same direction as the head coach in terms of culture. Because I do think to use the word John Lyons used on Sunday in the postgame show, tone setter. Drake Maye is becoming a tone setter for this organization, and we've talked about the fact that he doesn't seem to be a why guy. He seems, and I don't say this in a bad way, to be a yes man.
Yep.
Like Alex Van Pelt says it, Gerard Mayo says it, they're my coaches, I'm going to fall in line.
Yes,
Bill
sir.
Belichick
Right.
would love it, right? Like militaristic, I'm beneath them in the ranks, and therefore they know what's best, and I'm going to do my best to make their best come to fruition. And I think there is significant value in that, and that's not a shot at Jacoby Brissett, because some of it is just the realization everyone knew what Jacoby Brissett was.
Right.
He was a placeholder, so he can't set culture. Total quick aside here. Did you see there's a Jacoby Brissett, one of those progressive commercials, like if life had backups and the woman's trying to do her taxes and she's screwing up her taxes and she goes, Jacoby, get in here.
No,
Jacoby
I haven't
Brissett.
seen that one.
It's awesome. And I'm wondering now, if they waited until he was a backup quarterback again, like, oh, we can't run this. He's actually the starter in New England for the first 6 weeks. But it's pretty good. He comes in and he puts on glasses and he starts going through the receipts and hitting the calculator and everything. But, backup quarterbacks don't set cultures. Backup quarterbacks don't help set cultures, in my opinion. Backup quarterbacks just hold seats. And now Drake Maye has joined this little culture club, and I do like that others are joining. You see what I did there?
I did.
I also thought earlier when you were explaining this, there's something happening here. Isn't that a song?
Yeah.
What it is not exactly
here.
clear.
Right, yeah, sure. And then
That's an
Public
old
Enemy
song, right?
did a song with over that too.
Yeah.
Who is that? Lou Reed?
I have no idea.
I forgot.
I went to you. You're the music guy.
I should know this, yeah.
I rely on you guys to be the music guys. Anyway, but that Mike Onwenu is joining the culture club. Like Big Mike, your best offensive lineman. Love it. I don't know if he even means it or believes it.
Buffalo Springfield, that's who.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know if he even means or believes that this is the best offense he's had since he's been here. But he says it, and it sounds believable, and it helps the overall lifting of all the boats, right? Alex Van Pelt, I don't need your stinking help, Kraft. Take your plans and shove them.
Yeah.
We're doing just fine here. I like this little circle, the old circling of the wagons idea here. I like the idea that more and more guys are coming together. A little piece of this, Christian Barmore, returning to the practice field, one of your best defensive players joining the mix. So I totally agree with you. There is a little bit of momentum here after bottoming out with the soft comments.
Yeah.
But now you got to keep it going. You can't allow it to regress. Like, we're going to talk about the Bruins later. They're the kings of 1 step forward, 2 steps back this year.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, Patriots, you need to keep taking little steps forward, 1 step at a time, because it feels like you are starting to stack those steps together.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like that's happening. A good week of practice after a good win in Chicago. The Patriots are 4.5. What's the line at right now? I didn't check.
4.5 last I checked.
4.5 points. Home dogs against the Rams team, who had all sorts of trouble last week with the Miami Dolphins. As you pointed out here, the momentum is on the Patriots side right now, and the Rams definitely have more to play for because they're still competitive. They're still in a division where they could emerge from there in the wild card race, to be sure, or as a division winner, as the NFC West is certainly not settled yet. But the Patriots do have the benefit of a win this week. Some culture stuff here. Do we have Mike Onwenu, Stiz? This is no, not yet. All right, we'll get that for you. If you missed it on the Jones and Keefe show, he said that Alex Van Pelt is the best offensive coordinator he's ever had, whether you believe it or not. Also, Barmore's back this week. That'll give a lift to a team.
Yep.
One of your best defensive players coming back and practicing. Now, I don't know when he's going to actually play, but
the door is open.
The door is open for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Could be this week. They're going to have a meeting with doctors after practice today, and he did not shut the door on the possibility, and it would surprise me, but he did not close the door on the possibility that he could play on Sunday against the Rams, and I think that would be a big boost, not just the obvious boost, which all the trolls on Twitter are like, Captain, this could help, really? Thanks. Now, that's why you're an NFL insider. But also just...
That was me, by the way, who said that.
Yeah, I figured. You get a lot of burners. You
My
seem
burner
like that kind of guy. You're like Kevin Durant with all those sensitivities and pushing back on things. But no,
True.
There's the physical. He's in the middle of the defense, and Dietrich Wise is banged up, so you could actually maybe swap those guys out and not lose anything. But also just the idea, if we talk a lot about they're soft up the middle because really all their best players up the middle are missing, they know it. Even if Jeremiah Farms and what is it, Jacqueline Roy, whatever the hell his name is. Even if those guys are stepping up, your best players aren't out there, and there's a toll to that. And having him back out there for 10 snaps, 12 snaps, 15 snaps with his personality, he's kind of the Kendrick Bourne of the defense, with just always smiling, talking fast, saying things, screwing around. That whole thing, absolutely, that could be a positive for them.
Yeah, certainly could. Another positive thing is that the offensive line, comparatively speaking to the rest of the year, is healthy. That includes Mike Onwenu, who I believe is going to be at right guard again. I don't know exactly where they're going to play him.
Seems to be the indication.
That's where he's been practicing. I wouldn't be shocked to see him kick out to right tackle, although I thought DeMontre Jacobs had a good week last week. Mike Onwenu spoke with Jones and Keefe and was glowing remarks about his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I really like AVP. I think he's done a good job. And I'm really just I've been through a couple OCs, and, I like what he's done the most. And he brings good energy every day. I mean, he's the same guy every day, and keeps it bright for us, and just always lets us play good football.
So Mike Onwenu was drafted in 2020, okay?
Yeah.
That means he had 2 years of Josh McDaniels.
Yep.
1 year of Matt Patricia.
Understandable.
1 year of Bill O'Brien.
Yep.
And now this year of Alex Van Pelt, which isn't even a full year yet. Again, we're 11 weeks into a 17-week season, and he said that out of all I've had some offensive coordinators, and I like what he does the best. Now, do you believe that? I mean, do you believe that he is more into this than he was when Scarnecchia was there? Right? He had a couple years with Scarnecchia, so, is this, do you buy this, I guess?
Well, host one. I've done radio with a lot of host ones, and I think you're the best host one that I've ever been with.
Wow, I don't believe you, but thanks.
Now, do I think he's saying what he wants to, sell to the listeners and to the media? Sure. I think he's doing that as trying to be a leader. Because, you hand a guy $55 million, whether he's a leader or not, he carries some weight, no pun intended for him, given the Lombardi comments, but he carries some weight around here. So you want him to be supportive. I'd love to believe it, but am I truly to believe that he believes Van Pelt is better than Josh McDaniels? Or it might just be Van Pelt's nicer.
Right.
Because I firmly believe that. The nicest offensive coordinator that he's had is Alex Van Pelt. The most personable, the most likely to seem like a father figure, grandfather, whatever you want to call him. I firmly believe that's Alex Van Pelt, because I think Josh can be a pain in the ass.
He can be grating on players,
100%.
Yeah.
Billy O can be vulgar and grating, and he's the teapot. And obviously the Judge Patricia thing was just a crap show. They're not even really in the running. But so I think there's probably something to the fact that I like Alex Van Pelt the most, so I'll say he's the best I've had, even though tactically and scheme-wise, he may not necessarily really be the best he's had.
The offensive line being healthy and a little continuity from week to week, we're happy about that, obviously, for Drake Maye. And I thought that they looked good against the defense. Now, we know Caleb Williams in the offense was having all sorts of problems. Waldron got fired. No one got fired from that defense. Nope. And I thought that, for the most part, the offensive line held up well. Now, they didn't score a lot of points, and there were times where I thought they could have moved the ball a little bit better, but they ran the ball better than they have in recent weeks, and in general, I thought they kept Maye pretty upright.
Absolutely. Other than Onwenu on that early sack, that was pretty much their lone really bad play of the day. And I would say for them, that's the starting point. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect pass protection, move the line of scrimmage, and we're pushing bodies out of the way. Don't line up incorrectly. Don't have false starts. Don't have negative plays in the passing game or the running game. If you avoid all the negative plays as this offensive line, I think that's a massive step forward. I think they can, Alex Van Pelt and Drake Maye and company can work with that. They don't have to be, the Eagles where they're going to do a tush push and just move the line of scrimmage. I think they can be good enough if they're just
or
not
just hand
bad.
it to Barkley and have him score 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
He's
or
pretty
3,
good now.
whatever it was. That was ridiculous. You ever seen that video where the guy's on the beach and he's holding one of those crabs and he drops it on the ground, the crab just takes off, runs into the water, and it's like there in 1 second? That was Saquon Barkley. He was like one of those crabs that just flies down the beach. That was
Offensive
ridiculous.
Player of the Year, baby. Offensive Player of the Year. Let's go.
He's going to lock that up, I think. As good as Henry's doing, Saquon, he was unbelievable last night. We'll talk about that game as well, as another rookie quarterback was involved in the game and had maybe one of his worst games. His ribs a little banged up there. Jaden Daniels looking human for one of the first times all season. So we'll get into that one as well. As not to mention, when we discuss Alex Van Pelt and we discuss everything that's sort of different between the Patriots and the Rams, I would say, I don't know if you agree with this, I would say offensive coordinator, but more offensive philosophy. That's where the biggest divide is to me between these two teams. And I think that you'll see that in action. We saw a Miami Dolphins team that has a very modern, sort of sophisticated offense, but it was Snoop Huntley running it, so I don't think there was a whole lot of room there for McDaniel and all those guys to spread their wings. This case, though, you got a Rams team that's mostly healthy. You got McVay, you got Stafford, you got all the receivers, you got Kyron Williams. This, I think, is going to be a real... I don't know. It's going to be a real reflection here of what a Patriots simple offense and a new look, new age Rams offense, those going against each other. I'm interested in seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, and especially, and I had kind of forgotten about this until one of the reporters, might have been Phil Perry during the Mayo press conference, brought up that Nick Caley is on that staff, and you wanted Nick Caley to be your offensive coordinator here until he apparently asked for too much money. That was beyond what you wanted to pay a first-time coordinator. But yeah, certainly the Sean McVay offense has been the measuring stick on a lot of levels for a while now. It jump-started the whole hire anybody that has any Sean McVay ties kind of era of coaching here, which may have petered out a little bit now. Although last year Zach Robinson got the job and he's doing a good job down in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, that's it would certainly be a feather in the cap of Alex Van Pelt and the Patriots defense. It would take a team effort, but if Alex Van Pelt can have the more successful, well-coordinated offense on Sunday, it's just a step forward for him in general, but also to do it against Sean McVay and sort of the modern measuring stick in that role would be nice, because Alex Van Pelt is the polar opposite, essentially, of Sean McVay.
Yeah.
He's the old guy that took forever to get his opportunity. Sean McVay's the young guy, looks good, lives in the fancy houses with the fancy model girlfriend and all that. Alex Van Pelt, I told you yesterday, he's dad jeans with his hands in his pocket saying, like, hey, guys, what are we doing? kind of thing.
Yeah. Has like a house with shag carpet and like wood paneling in the basement and stuff like that. Yeah.
Probably drinks Miller Lite. And that's not a shot at Miller Lite. I feel like I could sit down and have a nice Miller Lite with Alex Van Pelt. I feel like if I sat down with Sean McVay, first of all, he'd be like, what are you wearing? You have jeans and whatever on, and then he'd order some fancy wine
or something.
I don't even know what he would order.
Craft cocktail. Yeah.
It definitely would not be a Miller Lite. And when they came, Alex Van Pelt and I would both say, yeah, we don't need the glass. We'll just drink it out of the bottle and we'd have a nice chat.
We're just men. We're men who drink beer. Hey.
Real men.
That's what we do. If you could go back in time, if you could hop in the DeLorean and set the clock back to the offseason, would you go back and pay Nick Caley $4 million a year, or would you stick with Alex Van Pelt and not alternate or affect the timeline there? What would you prefer to do, knowing what we know now?
That is a great question.
Thanks.
Marty! I think I would hire Nick Caley. I like Nick Caley. I like the idea of Nick Caley, the youthful guy. But I'm trying to remove, I like Drake Maye a lot. So am I valuing that Drake Maye is just special and it didn't matter who coordinated him and coached him, he would have been fine? Or do I have to give Alex Van Pelt credit for what he has done for Drake Maye to get him to this point where I really like what I'm seeing from Drake Maye, and so does everybody else in all of football? So like that, long term, would I want Nick Caley? Yes, I would want Nick Caley. Sorry, Alex Van Pelt. But Alex Van Pelt, you've done a great job with Drake Maye, and for the long term, maybe that's more important.
Yeah, it might be. The only thing I would say is Nick Caley didn't get an offensive coordinator job. Like, he's with the Rams and he's the tight ends coach, and I don't even know who the tight ends on the Rams are. Like, is Taylor Higbee, is he still on the team? Like, I don't even know who those guys are. So I'm sure that he's cooperating with what they're doing and that he has input in it and all that, but it's not like he was this majorly sought-after offensive coordinator candidate. Like, he overplayed his hand a little bit, and I think the Patriots said no thanks and didn't want to go that high. But in retrospect, like, he does fit that profile. But as we saw with Shane Waldron last week, the profile isn't bulletproof. The profile doesn't always hit. Sometimes you miss.
And I believe Nick Caley is their pass game coordinator, which was, I think that's what Shane Waldron was before he went to Seattle.
Yeah.
I think that's their way of promoting guys below McVay to get a little notoriety before they can move on to coordinator jobs elsewhere. So I think Nick Caley is on the track to be a coordinator. Hell, Gerard Mayo said it today. He will be a coordinator in this league. He's absolutely on that track, and he brings certain skills and energies and different things that'll be good. So I would have hired Nick Caley. Yes, I probably would have bit the bullet and paid an extra $1 million and hired Nick Caley.